Hello everyone, I Anjali Swami
And I, Rahul Chaudhary.
welcome you all to our very own Founders Connect, the podcast series of SIMSPUNE. So today we have our very own director sir of SIMSPUNE, Brigadier Dr. Rajiv Divekar sir. He has served in the Indian Army for more than 30 years and he has been the director of SIMS for like 15 years now. We welcome you, sir, and thank you so much for taking some time out for this podcast from your busy schedule, and it means a lot to us. So, with your permission, can we start?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me, and I look forward to the interaction.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being a part of our podcast. So, sir, to begin with, I personally feel that to get to know a person, you should go back to their roots. You should understand where the person came from and how their upbringing were, what school they went to, and what were their experiences. So, sir, in terms of that, could you please tell us which school you went to and how were your schooling years? What kind of personality did you develop in those years?
Okay, so my father was in a government service in Central Excise, and that involved a lot of transfers, like in the armed forces every 2 years or so. So my initial schooling were in different places, Baroda or Chennai. And it was interesting that when we moved from Baroda to Chennai, my eldest sister had gone into 7th class, her younger to her had gone into 5th class, and I was going into 1st class. Now in those days, I'm talking about in the years around 1960, in Gujarat, English used to be taught from 7th standard onwards. When we landed up in Chennai, they didn't know English. So I found myself along with my two sisters in 1st standard, the eldest one, the younger one, and me all in 1st standard because they didn't know English. Of course, being elder and having extra coaching at home, they managed to study English and pick up and kept getting promotions every 2 months. At the end of it, they finally lost 1 year each. But seeing this, my father felt that as a boy, I should not lose any years in education. That was one. Second is, there I had a friend whose brother had joined a sailing school in Amravati Nagar, who had come on leave, and I met his brother. In fact, there were two elder brothers, both in Amravati sailing school, and I was pretty impressed with them, the uniform that they're wearing and the way they were talking. So somehow I developed a liking for the armed forces that time. Otherwise, till then I didn't know anything about it.
Okay.
Then we moved to a place called Bellary, and over there I joined the convent, but that convent had boys only till 4th standard. In 5th, I had to go to a local school, and that local school obviously was in Kannada. So that's the time my father decided to put me in a boarding school, and I was also very keen to join the army. So the closest there was then known as King George School, Belgaum, or now known as the military school. There are 5 military schools. Belgaum is one of them, other than Bangalore, Dholpur, Chahal and Ajmer. So I went there at the age of 9.5 in class 5, and I continued there till my 11th. So being a military school, which is what it is now, in addition to the education, the focus is also on joining the armed forces. And we had children of officers, JCOs and OAs, other than civilians like me, who were studying there. So the atmosphere was more towards, a regimented life and joining the armed forces. So that's how I, completed my schooling, took the NDA exam, and I was fortunate enough to, join the NDA. Of course, it was not directly from school, but 6 months I got an admission in an engineering college in Baroda, Kala Bhavan, because my father was again posted to Baroda in MS University, Kala Bhavan. But my NDA call came. I qualified for both the Army merit list also and the Air Force merit list also, since I had cleared my PAPT. But my choice was Army, so I joined NDA, 47th course in NDA just after the war. So it was in January 72. I did 3 years there, went to IMA, where it came to choice of arms. somehow I was keen on the infantry, but my mother felt that I should not join the infantry, and I thought that maybe knowledge come the excitement of challenging life of army, I should join the engineers. So since I was quite high in the order of merit, I opted for engineers and I got engineers, and that's how I became a commissioned officer.
Okay, so you talked about being a civilian and going into such an environment where you were not very familiar with the environment and at a very young age. So did you see any challenges that you did not see happening outside, and that school helped you, overcome those challenges?
Yeah, the challenges that I faced when I joined school, of course, was in a civilian school in Bellary. It was a normal education. There was nothing much about sports or any other activities. In any case, emphasis those days was not on these things. But when I went to Belgaum, there it was, a lot of emphasis on sports. We used to get up in the morning at 6, go for PT. We used to have games in the evening. We used to have competitions and lots of other activities. We used to go out for excursions. And so it was quite like the army life. And that was something that I quite enjoyed. And being with others, participating, everybody staying in the hostel, and going for movies. We used to get 2 rupees as for out pass, and that used to be a wholesome amount, because you got a movie ticket for 90 paisa in the upper stall, not on the balcony, and 30 paisa was a masala dosa, 30 paisa was local sweet dish called kunda, and 30 paisa was an ice cream, and that used to be very good for us, and we still had 10 paisa left. If we wanted to hire a cycle for 2 hours, we paid that 10 paisa and used the cycle. Otherwise, we still came back with 10 paisa. So yes, that life over there. And then, everybody wanting to join the armed forces. So in addition to our studies, we used to also prepare for the competitive exam, or, do exercises and other things, that would help us to join the army. Not all were successful, but most of us were.
So sir, as you said that you were in military school and colleges, so maybe that had actually influenced you to go towards army side, right? So who actually was your influencer at that time, who pushed you to pursue army as the career?
Nobody really pushed me. It was a decision that I took, like I said, in Chennai, when I came across my friend's 2 brothers, who incidentally I met later. He also joined the army. I met him in NDA later, when I was in my 6th term, and he had joined in the 2nd term. He joined a little later, and while talking, of course I didn't know, and he mentioned that I was in Chennai, and I said I was also in Chennai, and we came to know, and his 2 brothers had joined the army, and they were also in the engineers. So it was quite a coincidence. So nobody really pushed me, but it was something that I saw and I felt like doing it. And I always had this thing in me that I should be an independent person. I should not be dependent on anybody, nor should I, get anything because of somebody. If I have to get anything, I should get it on my own. I'll work for it and get it. If I don't get it, it's okay. But so nobody really pushed me for it. I did it on my own.
So from childhood only, you did not think of going to army, but the environment around you actually made you feel that you belong here.
Yeah, that's right. Because I had nobody in the army. None of my relatives have ever been in the army. I was the first one. And when I joined the school, then of course everybody was talking about joining the army. And we had in school, in the initial 5th, 6th, you had what was called Cubs. Mm-hmm. Then in 7th, 8th, you had Scouts. Mm-hmm. And 9th, 10th, 11th, you had NCC wing. So I took the army NCC wing. And that sort of was a fulfillment of what I was looking forward to, right. And it helped me.
Right.
So going through that entire experience must have had a lot of effect on you, and then being a part of the army for more than 30 years, so there would have been a lot of different experiences that you would have had. There are so many postings that you have been to. You have been abroad on a UN mission. So are there any learnings from that tenure of your life that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, lots of learnings. I mean, first is, the army gives you a lot of opportunities, and it's up to you how much you take them. But more importantly, to get those opportunities, of course, while they are open to all, if you do your work sincerely and if you put your heart and soul into it, then you get your rewards in the army. In the army, they treat you, everybody fair and square, and there are no biases that come in. And so I realized, while I was in the academy, I used to do my job, but I was fairly casual about it. It's only when I got commissioned, then I realized that I had potential, and had I been a little more serious, I would have done even better in the academy. And since then, after commissioning, I became serious in whatever I did. And I used to, my philosophy or motto was, if you have to do a thing, then do it properly. Otherwise, don't do it. And that was one. But then I said, if the army wants you to do a thing, then do it. Don't even say, hey, I will not do it. So these two things helped me. So when I started, I started doing well on courses, and I got good gradings. When I went to the unit, I started, taking interest. And so one thing led to another. And so, they found me that I was very diligent in my work. They sent me on courses, I got good gradings. And that, in a way, again, while I used to go for courses, they used to say, you're good, so we expect you to get a good grading. When I got a good grading, then they said, you got a good grading, now you got to also do well in your work. And it helped. And because I was from a military school and, one had played a lot of games. So in the unit, I got an opportunity to play a lot of games.
Okay.
And those days, there used to be a lot of encouragement for games. We used to have a lot of competitions. And while I may not have been very good at certain games, but just that enthusiasm and josh and ability to rally people, I used to be in the team.
Oh.
And that helped, and we used to win a few, lose a few, but mostly we used to do well. So that helped. So courses, doing this. So with that, what happened was, the way people look at you, people means in the army, your seniors and others, even your subordinates, because you are doing all these activities, you are doing them well, you are performing well, results are there, they start giving you credit for it, as well as they give you opportunities.
Okay.
And more opportunities came by my way, the more I performed and worked, whether it was on courses or on any other thing. And then it sort of became a routine for me, because when you do these things consistently, then they become routine.
Correct.
And then I never found it a problem. And it's again like, just to give you one example, when I was doing the commando course, and we had, so every Saturday you had 10 kilometers, 20, 30, 40, total of 100, so it was 100 marks. So it was the fourth Saturday, 40 marks, already 60 marks had been, achieved. So it was passed, because 10 and 20, 30 marks, you had to do the third one. So everybody had 60. When we started, almost about 60% of the batch, just after a few kilometers, gave up, because they said 60 marks here, we don't have to do the others. There were few of us only who were continuing, and it was, in the month of, I think it was in April, it was pretty hot, doing that, though it was in the evenings at night, and with that weight. And I don't know why we used to have these water points after every 4 kilometers, along with some salt kept, because if you get dehydrated. I don't know what came into my mind. I took a lot of salt, which should not have been, it should have been very little, and I just had the salt and I drank. I started walking after about 3-4 kilometers, my stomach started churning, and that was right in the beginning, after just about some 6 odd kilometers. So I continued like that with my stomach churning and wanting to go around the corner, because there was no way you could take out the weight, go and wear it again. I continued and I completed it pretty good. At the end of it, then of course I managed to complete and relieve myself, but because I had done it and I had done it in good time, I got the, I didn't get the commando dagger, but I got best in endurance.
Oh.
Right.
So these were things, I could have given up that time. I had 60 points, my stomach was, churning. I could have given up and said, why should I continue? I'll pass.
Correct.
I have a reason also. But I said no. And so these kind of things, helped me again in my career. So where, the difference between most people is that when the going gets tough, they tend to, give up and look for the easier way. While it was for me the other way. When it got tough, I used to put in that little bit more. And that is what again differentiated me from maybe many others, because even in cross country and others, while everybody would see the finish line and relax, 500 meters or 200 meters, I used to be sprinting the last about 800 meters.
Wow.
Because that's the time when actually most people don't have that energy.
Right.
I mean, you have the energy, but you feel कि अभी हो गया. Well, I used to be sprinting. So even in IMA, I came third in the cross country over there. In obstacle course also, I was lying way second behind somebody. And when it was the last obstacles left, where you had those, and you had to go left, right. And while he was almost on the third one, I was about 2 obstacles behind. And I started sprinting and crossing, and by the time he crossed this last one, I crossed with him and I sprinted that last 10 meters and I beat him. I came third overall because it was the timings that they were taking. So somebody else had done it before. So again there also I came third. So it was these things. I went for PT course. We used to run every day. They had made us run. People used to, some of them used to run on some days. I used to run every day and come first. And I got the silver medal, which was the number 1 position in PT course also. So whatever I did, my aim was to do it well. If you have to do it and do it well. So that's how it was, and that helped me in my career.
Mm-hmm. True, sir. I mean, striving for excellence, that is what something that I can take from this conversation that we have had right now. So, like, I have seen many, distance runners have the same mentality, wherein the last part of their race, they run very hard and they try to make it so that they achieve the goal. So, going on the same lines, when you went abroad for your UN mission, so you would have had opportunity to have exposure with a lot of different personalities that were not there in India. Maybe there was something in their culture or in their lifestyle that was different, and then you would have seen different qualities in that. So how do you see yourself in that environment, and what kind of learnings were there in that environment?
Yeah, okay, so I had an opportunity to be on 2 UN missions. The first one was in Somalia and the second one was in Lebanon. So the first one was, it was more like a war zone, so wherever you went, you had to go under protection. And there we had troops or, armies from Pakistan, India, then this place, New Zealand and other countries, Nigeria. But I found that we were more professional, much more than them. We were also very meticulous and honest about it. The Pakistanis were also good. But in terms of, being a little more cohesive or honest, I found that the Indians we were more professional. So that was one part. When I went to Lebanon, we had Nepalese, we had Bangladeshis, we had New Zealanders, we had Italians. And again I found that, and even from Ukraine. So I found myself we found our Indians to be very professional and very good about it. And in fact, we did a better job than anybody else over there. We were very well respected. But the point that, certain things that we picked up. See, when it came to certain amount of aspects, like the New Zealanders. Now, in their case, like if there is an issue that happens, we had a case where the UN patrol came under fire from Hezbollah, and one guy was injured, so he had to be evacuated through a particular gate and taken across to Israel, and so there was some delay. And in the New Zealand, he was a New Zealand guy, so the New Zealand guy, tried to sort of put the blame on the Indians, because that happened in the Indian battalion area for delay and whatnot. And so an inquiry was held. So we stood by the Indians, and since I was in the operations and I was the chief operations officer, and then we stood by them. But in their case, they tried to, because the way we behave and the way they behave is something different. And while we wanted to save him, but we also wanted to make sure that if we could evacuate him through a chopper, then it would be better and faster, rather than reaching out to the Israelis, and then the Israelis opening the gates, and the Israelis won't open it so easily, because obviously even if they open for us, the Hezbollah might go through, or Hezbollah might attack, who had caused the casualty. So they said that you delayed it purposely, the casualty, of course nothing happened to him. So their kind of an outlook or work ethos is different from ours. But the good part was, again here, the way the Indians reacted to the Hezbollah was appreciated by this observer team. While one chap got injured, the other said that the way Indians reacted against the Hezbollah really helped. And a similar thing happened in Somalia, where the Indian battalion was located a little away from where we were located at the capital Mogadishu, and they were located at Baidoa. And these supply vehicles used to keep moving up and down, carrying supplies and whatnot and coming back. So while they were coming back, protection was being given, and the Indian jeep in front carrying a machine gun and soldiers, that was hit by the Somali, one of those gang lords, and we lost 6 men, 1 JSU and 5 men. But the others who were also there protecting, they immediately reacted and not only killed those militants, but managed to save any more casualties. And the guys in this, the civilians who were in these trucks carrying supplies and whatnot, they were actually the US retired defense personnel.
Okay.
Because it was Brown and Roots was the company, and the US people, because it was a US company and it was in a war zone, it was these army guys who had retired, they were operating, and they were full of praise for the Indian soldiers, because they said, we've never seen anybody reacting like this and taking action. I mean, they were from the army but retired, and they were full of praise. So if you talk about the Indian discipline, bravery, sense of responsibility, it was unmatched. But when it came to other things, maybe in certain things like again another place, New Zealanders, we went, so they had brought some sweets, and they said, take what you like. So I picked up one. Then I said, no, maybe I'll not take this, I'll take this. Moment I picked up the other one, he got so upset and angry. He says, how can you touch one and leave it? You're supposed to, not do this. For us, it's normal. I mean, you just pick up and leave it. But for him, it was pollution. I have, because, I don't know where I have touched my hands, what I have done. If I pick up one, then I'm supposed to eat it, that, whatever it is. But if I leave it back, somebody else will now pick up. Those are finer parts of maybe,
I think that's a part
that's
of
their culture. Ours,
Yes.
we don't mind it. So those are things. But generally, I found that we were more cohesive, more professional, and of course.
Right.
Definitely, sir. I mean, in our culture, we eat from our mother's hands also. There's no problem with that. And I think our integrity and training that Indian Army provides has made the difference out there.
Yeah, but then, not that he was wrong, but at least it taught me a lesson. Now I don't do such things.
Okay.
Because he had a point there, and it was a
Right.
valid point. It was nothing that it was wrong.
Correct.
It was a valid point.
We just did not know about it.
Yeah, we didn't know about it.
So, sir, like going through this conversation, you have had a very thrilling life in army, and if we see that you have lived 2 lives in this whole life, like life of an army officer and life of a director. So, what transitions actually took place while you shifted from army to education sector, like the people around you and the mindset of different people and the environment around you. So there must have lots of changes in your lifestyles as well, right?
Yeah. So while I was in the army, the good part about the army is that they keep posting you. Either the unit moves or they post you to various appointments. And so since I was doing well, I got an opportunity to be an instructor, what we call, or a faculty, what we call here in 2-3 places in the IMA, in College of Military Engineering in Wellington, or in Army War College. So you keep interacting with, students, so-called, whether they are officers, but at that time they are students. So that was one. The second was, of course, varied exposure in various places, in different appointments. So that also gave. But the good part was that, again, like I said, since I had always an interest in doing better than what I could do, whether it was in the job that I was doing or improving myself. So if anybody gave me suggestions or anybody, I took them seriously and I introspected and I tried to change myself. And I've changed myself a fair amount. So while I was in Delhi, in Army headquarters, since Saturday, Sundays used to be free, and IGNU had just about started then. So I applied for an MBA, I took the exam, open exam. I got passed in that. Maybe they pass everybody who appears. So I also passed. And then I started my MBA there. It was, the distance learning. So you used to get pamphlets, but you had contact programs every Saturday, Sunday. So I used to go there on Saturday, Sundays. It used to be for about 3 hours, not the whole day. And I managed to complete my MBA. Now I did that with no intention other than that since I have time, let me do something. Why should I just waste away my time? That was one. Second is that by getting knowledge, especially about management, and I felt that if I have to go up in life in the career, I need to manage people, manage finance you learn and operations you learn. So I'll be able to manage better. So it was with that intent, and it did help me. So I did my MBA. Now that was it, and I continued. Now when I finally reached a particular position and I found that I was not going to get any more promotions, I was looking for a job. It just so coincidentally happened that Symbiosis called me and they said, you've done an MBA, so you can join here as a director. And while in army I had gone for my higher command, so there we got an MPhil also. So they said, you're an MBA and you're an MPhil also. So you can do that and you can do your PhD later. So you join. Now that's the time I realized that I had done MBA not with any intention of leaving and getting a job, but it helped me. So that was one. Now the transition. I mean, education was something, like I said, I've been a faculty earlier at 4 places and different levels. IMA were pre-commission, CME was YOs after commission, Wellington was with 10, 11, 12 years service where I was a faculty, and then Army War College as the higher command where they were after command. So as a faculty there, so I could handle all ages and all types of ranks. So I felt I was suited. I liked education, and being from the engineers, I also like what we call operations or organizing things and executing them and going into details, as well as making sure there is a system to it. It's something that I liked. That was one. And secondly, I was somehow maybe my nature, maybe otherwise, I could adapt myself and I could get along well with people. I could understand. So yes, there is a difference between dealing with in the army, dealing with people, because there you give orders or you say something and it is done, and if somebody tells you something, they are going to comply with it or obey. Here, not specifically in SIMS, but otherwise, they would tell you that okay, I'll do it tomorrow, and tomorrow they are on leave and they're not there at all, and they're off for 7 days, or they don't do it and then give some excuse. So it was a bit of a challenge when I came here. I found that we are a management institute, we are teaching management, but our management processes are the worst. Things were not in order, and then, I may be exaggerating, but a lot of things needed to be streamlined. So I was able to, because of my army training, understand and streamline processes, because I found that in our education institute, having served before, everything is the same every year. It starts with the inaugural function, orientation, selection of clubs, this. It's a process that happens. Now when you know what the process is, then why can't you make SOPs and streamline it and do it well? All that matters or changes is the guest speaker who comes, or the topic that you're choosing for your conference or your colloquium. Rest everything is the same. So with that we managed to streamline, and that saves us a lot of time, effort. Everybody knows what it is, and then achievements are even better. So it happens. But yes, there is a difference again in the over here. Not everybody looks at it the same way as you look at it. So there, the achievement of what you want, I may want it to be, something to be achieved. The other person may not put in that much effort to achieve that, but that's okay. That's the only difference between army and civil, but it's fine.